"Don't touch the food," she said. One phone call from me, and her entire lavish wedding would collapse in seconds. But before the story begins, please write in the comment section where you're watching this story from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so the Stories with Meaning channel can continue to grow and bring you even more powerful stories. The Borum Grand Hotel, a 5-star luxury landmark in New York City, was bathed in light. Massive crystal chandeliers hung from the soaring ceiling, scattering thousands of tiny rainbows across the marble floors, polished to a mirror-like shine. The air was thick with the scent of imported Casablanca lilies and peonies, so intense it was almost suffocating. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a public exhibition of wealth. And in the middle of it all, Laura felt like an ink stain on pure white silk. She arrived alone, parking her modest city sedan among rows of Rolls-Royces and Lamborghinis at the valet entrance. Laura took a deep breath before stepping out. Her dress was a safe choice, a dark emerald silk dress, classic cut, elegant but understated. Her hair was pinned up simply, her makeup was minimal. In a sea of voluminous gowns, heavy sequins, and blinding diamonds, Laura looked plain. Plain was the word her family had always used for her. The moment she stepped into the ballroom, the sensation hit her hard. Laughter and the clinking of glasses felt like an invisible wall closing in. A few cousins and aunts near the entrance turned their heads. Their smiles froze for a fraction of a second before shifting into polite, shallow expressions. Then they went back to whispering. Laura was used to it. She was the failed one, the older sister who wasn't as beautiful as Samantha, not as successful as the husbands of her cousins, and, according to her father, not impressive enough to be proud of. Her eyes searched for the center of the universe tonight. There, on a stage that looked more like a royal throne, sat her younger sister Samantha, radiant like a queen. Her gown probably cost as much as a studio apartment, encrusted with Swarovski crystals from bodice to train. Beside her was her new husband, polished and confident, and standing close to them was their father, Mr. Bernard Hale. He looked powerful in his custom-tailored suit, laughing loudly as he patted his new son-in-law on the back. His eyes sparkled with pride, a pride Laura had never once seen directed at her. Laura tried to move closer, but her steps felt heavy. Every sideways glance pierced her like tiny needles. She remembered Samantha's message a week earlier, not an invitation, but an instruction. "Just come, Laura. Bring a gift. Sit quietly in a corner. Don't talk too much. And don't embarrass me." Laura smiled bitterly. Even attending her own wedding came with a warning. Mr. Hale's gaze finally met hers. Just for a second, his smile didn't fade, but his eyes hardened. He gave her a brief nod, a silent acknowledgement, a silent command to disappear and not disturb the picture. Laura swallowed hard. Regret filled her chest. She shouldn't have come. She clutched the gift box in her hands. It wasn't large, wrapped in dark blue velvet. Inside wasn't a luxury watch, not a 6-figure check, not the keys to a sports car. She knew whatever she gave would never compare to the gifts from her father's business partners or Samantha's socialite friends. She waited for the right moment. When Samantha and her husband stepped down from the stage to greet VIP guests, Laura gathered her courage. She slipped between two men in expensive suits. "Samantha," she called softly. Samantha turned. Her smile vanished instantly, replaced by thinly veiled irritation. "Oh, you," she muttered. "Congratulations, Sam, on your wedding." Laura held out the gift box. This is for you." Samantha glanced at it with open disdain. She didn't touch it. "Just put it over there," she told a bridesmaid, pointing to the gift table piled high in the corner, without ever looking Laura in the eyes. "Sam," tried Laura again, "I made it myself. Please, open it later." Yeah, Samantha cut her off impatiently. She turned to her husband. "Babe, let's go. "Uncle William's over there. We need to greet him." She started to walk away. In a final, desperate attempt to be acknowledged, Laura lightly held her arm. "Sam, it's a photo album from when we were kids, back when we lived in that old rental house." Samantha stopped. She turned slowly, her stare icy enough to freeze Laura in place. "That old rental house?" She laughed, humorless, mocking laugh. "Are you serious? You think I want to keep memories of being poor? We're rich now. Why would I want to remember struggling?" Laura stood stunned. "Thanks for the gift," Samantha added sweetly, venom dripping from her voice. "But I don't have space in my new house for sentimental junk like that." She pulled her arm free and walked away gracefully, leaving Laura standing alone in the crowd. Across the room, Mr. Hale had seen everything. He saw the gift offered. He saw the disgust on Samantha's face. He saw his older daughter humiliated, and he did nothing. He simply turned away, laughing and chatting with a local politician, as if Laura didn't exist, as if she was invisible. Laura felt her already cracked heart completely shatter. She retreated to the darkest corner of the ballroom she could find. 15 more minutes, she promised herself. Then I'm gone, forever. An hour felt like a lifetime. Laura stood near a massive marble pillar, watching the celebration. She hadn't eaten all day, too nervous. Now her stomach twisted painfully, not just from hunger, but from grief, anger, and shame. Her throat was dry. She just wanted a glass of water. The buffet was a monument to excess, a sushi and sashimi station staffed by chefs flown from Japan, foie gras served on brioche toast, a macaron tower over 3 feet tall, a 4-tiered chocolate fountain. At the beverage station, rows of premium champagne lined up like soldiers. Laura swallowed. The irony made her nauseated. All this luxury, food expensive enough to feed an orphanage for a month. She knew the cost, because she paid for all of it. Every dollar of this wedding, the venue, the catering, Samantha's gown, her father's suit, came from an account under Laura's name her family didn't even know existed. For years, Laura had quietly funneled her wealth to them through a complex trust fund, pretending it was leftover inheritance managed by a law firm. She wanted them comfortable. She wanted her father to stop worrying. She wanted her sister happy. She let them believe she was just simple Laura, an ordinary employee at a small company, barely getting by in a tiny apartment. It was the perfect disguise, allowing her to build in peace the global investment firm she had founded from nothing. Now, seeing all this, she felt sick. She walked slowly towards the beverage station, trying not to attract attention. She passed grilled meat and caviar stations and stopped at the dessert table where large glass jars held infused water. She took the smallest dessert plate available. Her hands trembled as she picked up a single strawberry cheesecake. Just one small piece. She felt like a thief. She poured herself a glass of water. Just as she turned to leave, "Cock Laura," Samantha's voice. Laura froze. She turned slowly. Samantha stood there, her hands on her hips. Her massive wedding gown made her look intimidating. Behind her were her socialite sight and her new husband, all watching with amused smiles. Samantha's eyes locked onto the small plate in Laura's hands. Her expression was pure disgust. "What do you think you're doing?" Samantha snapped. I'm thirsty and a little hungry," Laura said softly, feeling foolish for having to explain herself. "Hungry?" Samantha laughed coldly. "I saw you circling the buffet like you haven't eaten in a week. Aren't you embarrassed?" "I only took this," Samantha cut her off impatiently. "You think this is free. You think this is some village feast where you can eat whatever you want. Every plate here costs hundreds of dollars, Laura. Hundreds. Money you probably don't even see in a month." Laura's face drained of color. She felt dozens of eyes turn towards them. The music seemed to fade. "Samantha, please, don't do this." "What?" Samantha stepped closer, raising her voice so everyone within 5 meters could hear. I should be the one embarrassed, having a sister like you. Look at yourself. Look at how you stare at food. You're humiliating me in front of my husband and my in-laws." Laura stepped back. The small plate felt unbearably heavy in her trembling hands. She didn't know what to say. The insult hung thick in the air. People whispered. Some watched with pity, many with amusement. This was entertainment. Laura looked at her sister, the face she once wiped tears from as a child, now twisted by arrogance and cruelty. "Sam, I'm sorry. If I embarrassed you, I'm sorry." Samantha sneered. "Your apology is useless. You've already ruined everything." She glanced at the plate in Laura's hands, then lifted her eyes back to her sister's face, filled with pure hatred. In one swift motion, Samantha snatched the plate from Laura's hands. It slipped free and crashed onto the marble floor with a sharp, deafening crack. The slice of cheesecake shattered into pieces. The water from Laura's glass spilled, soaking her shoes. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Laura flinched, staring blankly at the broken plate and ruined cake now staining the pristine floor. Samantha's face burned red with rage. Her trembling finger pointed toward the exit. "Leave the gift and go home," she screamed. Her voice echoed through the ballroom, which suddenly fell silent. Laura stood frozen, shock and humiliation locking her body in place. "Don't touch a single piece of food here," Samantha shrieked again, as if Laura were a filthy stray animal. Get out now!" Total silence swallowed the room. The music stopped. Every eye, hundreds of them, was fixed on Laura, standing alone in the center of the humiliation, shards of porcelain at her feet. Desperate, she searched for one face, one person who might help her. She found him, her father. Mr. Bernard Hale was walking briskly toward them, not to scold Samantha, not to defend Laura. His face was flushed, not with shame over Samantha's behavior, but with anger toward Laura for causing a scene. Laura looked at her father, her eyes pleading. Just one word. One word to stop Samantha. One word to defend her. "Dad," Laura whispered, her voice breaking. Mr. Hale reached Samantha's side and immediately wrapped an arm around his favorite daughter's shoulders. "Samantha, calm down, sweetheart," he said gently. "The guests are watching." Then he turned to Laura. His gaze was icy. There was no compassion there, only disappointment and restrained anger. "Laura," Mr. Hale said quietly, flat and lethal, "I've told you many times, if you can't behave properly, don't come. You always manage to cause problems." Laura couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Dad, I was just—" "That's enough," Mr. Hale snapped. "Your sister is celebrating the happiest day of her life. Why do you insist on ruining it with this behavior? Begging for food like a homeless person." "I wasn't begging." Laura's voice rose, the pain igniting into sparks of anger. "I wasn't." "Dad, kick her out," Samantha whined. "I don't want to see her here. She's ruining my wedding." Mr. Hale stared at Laura for a long moment. He saw his older daughter, the quiet one, the one who always gave in, who never asked for anything. And he saw his younger daughter, the radiant one, the spoiled one, the one who always got everything. He had made his choice years ago. He sighed deeply, as if discarding a burden. "Maybe it's best if you leave," Mr. Hale said calmly. The calmness of his words hurt 1,000 times more than Samantha's screams. "Don't ruin your sister's happy day." That was the final nail in Laura's heart. Samantha's cruelty hurt, but being cast out by her father shattered her completely. Something inside Laura snapped. Her trembling stopped. The tears in her eyes dried. Laura straightened her posture. She no longer looked like a trembling victim. She locked eyes with her father, then shifted her gaze to Samantha, who was smiling triumphantly behind his shoulder. "All right," Laura said. Her voice was calm, clear, sharp. Every syllable cut through the silence of the Borum Grand Hotel ballroom. "I'll go." She smoothed her slightly wrinkled dress, stepped back from the broken shards, and began walking toward the exit. The guests parted to make way. She walked with her head high and her back straight. She didn't run. Just before reaching the massive doors, she stopped. She didn't turn fully, only tilted her head slightly, looking directly at her father and Samantha standing near the buffet. A strange smile curved her lips, not sad, but cold, calculated. "But just so you know," she said, her voice now loud enough for everyone to hear, "you will regret this very soon." Without waiting for a response, without looking back, Laura pushed open the doors and walked out of the ballroom. She left behind an awkward silence, a tainted celebration, and two people who had just sealed their own fate. Outside, inside her modest sedan, Laura did not cry. She started the engine. As the car rolled down the valet driveway, she took out her second phone, the business phone, from the dashboard. She pressed a speed dial number. "Good evening," she said to the person on the other end. "I have new instructions. Withdraw all funds and facilities under the names Bernard Hale and Samantha Hale, effective immediately. Include all wedding vendor payments at the Admiral Mulia Hotel. Cancel everything." The glittering lights of the hotel faded in her rearview mirror. Laura didn't speed. She didn't cry. The sharp pain she had felt inside the ballroom had transformed into something else, something cold, heavy, absolute. Clarity. For years, she had lived in a fog of hope, hoping her father would one day see her, hoping her sister would appreciate her. She had drenched them in luxury, believing money could buy love, or at least respect. Tonight, she realized her mistake. She hadn't bought love, she had financed their contempt. The business phone felt heavy in her hand. The call was still connected. On the other end, Brian, her most trusted executive assistant, waited calmly. "Good evening, Miss Laura. Are you still there?" "I'm here," Laura replied. Her own voice sounded unfamiliar, flat, emotionless. "Did you hear my instructions?" Brian paused. He was the man who had been with her since Aegis Capital Group was nothing but an idea on paper. He knew everything about her family, her double life, and the endless stream of money she had sent them. "I heard you," Brian said quietly. "This is final, completely irreversible." "I know exactly what it means," Laura replied. "Proceed." "The trust fund under Mr. Hale's name will be fully liquidated. All supplementary credit cards under Samantha Hale will be canceled. Vendor payments are being terminated simultaneously. The hotel will receive payment failure notifications in 5 minutes. Laura glanced at the clock on her dashboard. 8:59 p.m. The main reception had just begun. "Good," Laura said. "One more question, Miss Laura," added Brian cautiously. "The house in the elite residential complex is technically a corporate asset leased under your alternate identity. What would you like us to do?" Laura closed her eyes briefly. She remembered that house, the one she bought because Samantha complained their old home was too small for her social status. The house filled with imported furniture chosen by Mr. Hale. The house where Laura had never felt welcome. "Prepare an eviction notice," Laura said, opening her eyes and staring at the dark highway ahead. "Give them 72 hours. Send it tomorrow morning. Use our legal team. No negotiation." Brian inhaled sharply. "Yes, Miss Laura, I'll take care of it immediately." You okay?" "I'm perfectly fine, Brian," Laura replied. "For the first time in a long while, I truly am." She ended the call. She didn't drive to the small, subsidized apartment her family knew, the fake one. She took the exit toward downtown Manhattan, toward the tallest glass tower in the financial district, toward her real home. Laura entered the access code for the private elevator. It carried her directly to the triple-level penthouse occupying the top 3 floors of Aegis Tower. The doors opened to a space starkly different from the gaudy luxury of Samantha's wedding. The ceilings soared nearly 26 feet high. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls offered a 360-degree view of the New York skyline. The furnishings were minimalist, expensive, functional. Gray, white, and dark oak dominated the palette. A wall of monitors displayed global market data. This wasn't a home, it was a command center. Laura slipped out of the emerald dress that had felt like a costume and threw it aside. She changed into a soft cashmere shirt and silk lounge pants. In her modern kitchen, she took a bottle of chilled mineral water and drank slowly. It tasted like the first drink after days of thirst. She remembered the glass of water spilled on the marble floor. Samantha's voice echoed in Laura's mind. Don't touch the food. Ironically, Samantha had no idea that Laura was the one who paid for every single bite. A forgotten investment, now managed by an extremely discreet Swiss law firm. Of course, that law firm was nothing more than a legal division of Aegis Capital Group. Laura wanted them to be happy. She wanted Mr. Bernard Hale to be proud of her. She wanted Samantha to stop envying her friends. She believed that if she removed all their financial worries, they would finally relax and see her. Laura, their daughter, their older sister. She was painfully wrong. The more money she gave them, the more they despised her. To Laura, her simplicity was a necessary disguise, allowing her to run her company anonymously. To them, her simplicity was proof of her failure. How could the daughter of the wealthy Bernard Hale be nothing more than an ordinary employee? She was a stain on the flawless reputation they had so carefully constructed. And she let it happen. She swallowed every insult. Day after day, she paid for her father's luxury cars. She funded Samantha's shopping trips to Paris. And tonight, she paid for a wedding worth millions of US dollars. A wedding where she was forbidden to touch the food. Laura walked toward the glass wall of her penthouse, staring at the city lights flickering below. I gave them everything, she whispered to her reflection, and they left nothing for me, not even a slice of cake. The guilt that had chained her for years, the guilt of never being good enough, pretty enough, successful enough in their eyes, evaporated. The lesson begins tonight, she said quietly. She lifted her phone and sent one final message to Brian. Activate Piranha Protocol for all Hale-related assets. Leave nothing behind. Back at the Admiral Mulia Hotel, at exactly 9 p.m., the wedding was at its peak. Dinner had concluded. Samantha and her new husband were preparing for their first dance. A mini orchestra flown in from Vienna began the opening notes of the Blue Danube. Samantha laughed sweetly as her gown twirled. Mr. Hale stood beside the stage, champagne flute in hand, smiling proudly. The earlier incident with Laura had already been forgotten, discarded like trash. Then it happened. Not an explosion, not a loud crash. Something far worse. The violin screeched violently as the sound system cut out mid-note. The orchestra froze in confusion. A second later, the ballroom plunged into complete darkness. The crystal chandeliers that once blazed overhead went dead. The spotlights illuminating the stage shut off instantly. The massive LED screen displaying Samantha's pre-wedding photos turned into a gaping black void. The only remaining light came from dim green emergency signs above the exits. Laughter and conversation stopped at once. Someone screamed. "Dad!" Samantha's panicked voice echoed in the dark. "Dad, what's happening? Is this a power outage? This is so embarrassing." Mr. Hale nearly choked on his champagne as he snapped at Ryan, the wedding organizer. "Ryan, what in the hell is this? A hotel this expensive can't lose power. Fix it, now. My guests are going to panic." Ryan was already running frantically, his face pale under the green emergency glow. "That's impossible, sir. This hotel has 3 backup generators. This isn't a normal outage." He sprinted toward the control room, only to find every panel dead. Not just the sound system, not just the ballroom lights, every system connected to the event, the catering kitchen, the bar, even the air conditioning was completely offline. The once grand ballroom grew hot, dark, and suffocating. Chaos erupted near the kitchen. Mr. Hale was pulled aside by Ryan and confronted by the banquet manager. The manager's expression was icy. "Mr. Hale, we have a serious issue." "Of course there's an issue. My wedding is ruined. Turn the lights back on." "We can't. This isn't a technical issue, it's a financial one." Mr. Hale frowned. "Financial? Nonsense. Our corporate card has no limit. Run it again." "We already did, 3 times, on 3 different terminals. All declined. Payment failed. Your payments for the ballroom, catering, and bridal suite have all been canceled." Ryan stepped forward, trembling, clutching his tablet. "Sir, it's not just the hotel. The catering company just called. The final installment scheduled for 8 p.m. failed." Mr. Hale's face drained of color. "The decorator," Ryan continued, voice shaking, "the florist, the orchestra, the sound system, every vendor. All payments linked to the Hale Trust Fund failed simultaneously. It's as if the account vanished." "No, that's impossible." Mr. Hale grabbed his crocodile leather wallet, the one he bought in Milan using that fund. He pulled out his personal American Express Centurion card, a primary supplemental card linked to the trust. "Use this," he ordered the manager. "Swipe it, now." The manager ran the card on a portable terminal. Silence. Then, beep, 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 declined. "What?" Mr. Hale snatched the device. The screen was unmistakable. Transaction declined. Insufficient authorization. "Run it again." Beep, 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 declined. Panic seized him. He pulled out his phone and dialed his bank's priority number. Normally, a private banker answered instantly. This time, only a robotic voice responded. "We are sorry. The account associated with this reference number has been frozen at the request of the primary account holder. For further information, please contact the legal firm." Mr. Hale didn't hear the rest. The phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. Blood drained from his face, his ears rang. Then he remembered Laura's calm face at the exit, that strange, cold smile. "You will regret this very soon." He turned as Samantha rushed toward him, confused. "Dad, what's going on? Why is this taking so long?" Mr. Hale stared at his daughter, beautiful, arrogant, and for the first time he felt pure fear. "Laura," he whispered. "This is Laura." Samantha laughed nervously. "Dad, don't joke. She couldn't even afford a proper dress party. How could she?" The hotel manager cut her off. "If full payment is not resolved within 10 minutes, we will suspend all services, including catering." The news spread faster than fire. Whispers grew louder. "They couldn't pay. They're bankrupt. This is humiliating." Then the kitchen doors opened, not with dessert, but with the head chef, a large Frenchman in a tall chef's hat. His face was grim. He gestured sharply. Instantly, dozens of waiters and kitchen staff moved in unison. They stopped serving. They began packing up. Silver trays of Wagyu steak were lifted away, shrimp towers dismantled, the chocolate fountain powered off. A socialite guest, unaware, reached for the last slice of opera cake. A waiter gently but firmly blocked her hand. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Catering service has been terminated." Samantha's eyes widened in horror. This was her worst nightmare, her greatest public humiliation. She ran toward the head chef, her gown dragging across the dark floor. "What are you doing? Where are you taking the food? Stop! Don't touch the food." The chef turned calmly. "Sorry, miss. Pas d'argent,
pas de nourriture. No money, no food. These are management instructions. All service is withdrawn. Her own words, "Don't touch the food," slammed back into her face with full force. She was expelled from her own wedding by her own feast. Chaos erupted. Guests rushed for the exits, no longer whispering, "This is unbelievable. I thought they were wealthy. What a disgrace." Samantha's new husband stood frozen, face pale. His parents stormed toward Mr. Hale, furious. "You deceived us. You promised a business alliance. Instead, you're a fraud who can't even pay for your daughter's wedding. This marriage is over." "Wait, this is a misunderstanding," Mr. Hale pleaded desperately. "This is my other daughter's doing." No one listened. The Vienna Orchestra packed their violins, demanding cash. Decorators tore flowers from the stage. Under the dim emergency lights, Samantha collapsed on the steps of her empty stage. Her $1 million wedding gown now looked ridiculous, her makeup streaked with tears of rage and humiliation. "This is her fault! This is Laura's fault! She did this! She said we'd regret it!" Mr. Hale didn't answer. He just stared into the darkness. The regret had arrived, not in days, not in hours, but in minutes, exactly as Laura promised. Across the city, in her penthouse, Laura sipped her mineral water. On her laptop screen, a small window displayed the Hale Trust Fund balance, $0.00. She felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The drive home from
His grip on the steering wheel was so tight that his knuckles turned white. Mr. Bernard Hale sat slumped in the front passenger seat. His body sagged. He felt old, not just old, but ancient. Laura. That name echoed relentlessly in his head, overlapping with Samantha's hysterical sobs and the whispers of the wedding guests. Laura, he muttered again. How? How could it be Laura? Laura, the quiet one. Laura, the modest one. Laura, the daughter he had always dismissed as a useless shadow beside Samantha's brilliance. "Don't say that prostitute's name again, Dad," Samantha screamed from the back seat. "She must be working with someone. She set us up. She must have a rich boyfriend. God, Dad, this is humiliating. Call our lawyer. Sue her." "Enough, Samantha," Ethan snapped for the first time. His voice was cold, sharp. Samantha froze in shock. Ethan had never yelled at her before. "Your father," Ethan continued, eyes fixed on the road, "has a much bigger problem than your homeless sister. Banks don't freeze billions of dollars over a joke." "What do you mean?" Mr. Hale asked hoarsely. "I mean," Ethan said flatly, "I'm married into a respectable family, not a family of frauds who can't even pay for their own wedding." Mr. Hale had no answer. The car turned into their gated luxury community. The massive security gate, normally opening automatically, remained shut. A security guard they didn't recognize approached the window. "Can I help you, sir?" he asked without warmth. "I'm Bernard Hale, Block A, House 1. Open the gate," Mr. Hale said, forcing authority into his voice. The guard checked his clipboard. "I'm sorry, sir. Your name has been removed from the residence list. You're no longer authorized to enter." "What?" Samantha shouted, jumping forward. "Do you know who we are? We own that house." "The registry was updated an hour ago," the guard replied firmly. "Instructions from headquarters. Block A, House 1, no longer accepts guests under the name Bernard Hale. Please turn your vehicle around." A wave of dizziness hit Mr. Hale. "But we live there. Our belongings." "I'm just following orders, sir." At that moment, Ethan's phone buzzed, an email notification. He read it, and his expression hardened. A mass alert from his investment bank. Red flag warning for all clients connected to the Arsalan Trust, now under investigation for suspected fraud.
The career he had built on Mr. Hale's connections was collapsing. "Damn you, old man," he hissed. He slammed the steering wheel and made a sharp U-turn. "Ethan, where are you going?" Samantha cried. He didn't answer. He drove fast, stopping only when they reached the lobby of his own luxury apartment building. He braked hard. "Get out." "What?" Samantha asked, confused. "Get out," he shouted. He stepped out, opened the back door, yanked out Samantha's small suitcase, the one she'd packed for their stay at the Admiral Mulia Hotel, and threw it onto the sidewalk. "Take your things, both of you." "Ethan, I'm your wife. You can't do this." "My wife," Ethan said coldly. "I married the daughter of a conglomerate. Turns out I married the daughter of a fraud. Our marriage is a joke, just like your wedding. Don't ever contact me again." He got back in the car. Mr. Hale was too shocked to move. Ethan opened the front door and dragged him out roughly. "Get lost, both of you." He drove off into the night, in the car Mr. Hale had bought him as a wedding gift. Leaving Mr. Hale and Samantha standing on the sidewalk, still in their formal clothes, beside a single suitcase, under the confused gaze of security guards. They had lost everything in less than 3 hours. That night, they slept in the lobby of a cheap motel, paying cash with the last US dollars in Mr. Hale's wallet. They didn't sleep. The next morning, desperate, they took a taxi back to the gated community, hoping it had all been a mistake. This time, the gate was open. The familiar guard stood there, looking at them with pity. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hale." They ran down the familiar street towards their house, and there it was, not in the mailbox, but taped prominently to the wrought iron gate, a large brown envelope with a bright red stamp. Official. Urgent. Mr. Hale's hands trembled violently as he tore it open. Samantha read over his shoulder. It wasn't a letter. It was a legal eviction order. The property at Block A, House 1, including all contents, was listed as an asset owned and managed by Aegis Capital Group. The residential usage agreement under the name Bernard Hale had been permanently terminated due to breach of contract. Mr. Hale didn't read the details. His eyes locked onto the bottom. 72 hours to retrieve essential personal belongings. After that, asset security teams would take full control. Any attempts to enter would be treated as criminal trespassing. "Aegis Capital," Mr. Hale whispered. That's one of the largest investment firms in the world." Samantha collapsed against the gate pillar. "This has to be a mistake." No. The new voice was cold, professional, merciless. A man in a charcoal gray suit stepped out of a silent black sedan behind them. He wasn't an ordinary lawyer. He carried power. It was Brian, Laura's trusted assistant, acting as official representative of the Aegis Capital Group legal division. "Mr. Bernard Hale, Miss Samantha Hale," he said, though he clearly didn't need to ask. "Yes, who are you? Can you help us?" Mr. Hale pleaded. Brian ignored his outstretched hand and opened his tablet. "There is no mistake. I'm Brian, representing our client, the owner of Aegis Capital Group." "We don't know the owner," Samantha cried. "This is Laura's doing. She set us up." Brian raised his eyebrows slightly. "You're correct about one thing. This does involve Miss Laura." "What?" Mr. Hale stepped forward. "Does she work for your boss? Did she report us?" Brian cut him off, voice as sharp as a scalpel. "You still don't understand. Please listen carefully." He turned the tablet towards them, displaying an organizational chart. "The Arsalan Trust," Brian said, pointing to a box at the bottom, "never existed. It was not your grandfather's inheritance." Mr. Hale's face drained of color. "It was a discretionary expense account," Brian continued, "created by our client 10 years ago. Every month, it was funded directly from Aegis Capital Group's master account. Your house, your cars, your golf club memberships, Miss Samantha's schooling in Switzerland, your shopping trips to Paris, and yes, last night's wedding. All of it was a donation. From who? Samantha whispered. Who is your client? Brian tapped once. The chart expanded to the top. Founder and sole CEO. Next to it was a photo, a security camera still from last night. Laura walking alone out of the Borum Grand Hotel, head held high, a faint, cold smile on her face. Below the photo, Laura H. The silence that followed was absolute. Samantha covered her mouth, eyes wide in terror. No, that's impossible. Your sister, Mr. Hale whispered, his voice breaking. Everything made sense now. Laura's genius with numbers, her scholarships, her secrecy, her modest apartment, her ordinary job. All lies, Brian said flatly. Miss Laura is our client. She is the sole owner of Aegis Capital Group. She has been your only source of wealth for the past decade. And last night, by her direct instruction, that source was shut off. But why? Mr. Hale whispered. Brian looked him straight in the eye. My client has strict principles. She does not invest in unprofitable assets, and she does not tolerate betrayal. He didn't need to say more. What does she want? Samantha whispered. She wants nothing from you, Brian said calmly. She only reclaimed what was hers. You have 72 hours. He turned and left, leaving them standing in front of a house that was no longer theirs. Tiga hari berikutnya berlalu dalam hinaan. They were allowed inside, under constant supervision by security guards. Samantha tried to pack diamond watches and designer bags. The guards calmly removed them. Purchased with company funds, ma'am. They left with 3 suitcases of clothes. Borrowed lives, borrowed luxury. Now gone. With nowhere else to go, Mr. Hale remembered a small rental house on the edge of the city back when he was nobody. A narrow alley, only wide enough for a motorcycle. The final humiliation had just begun.
The walls were damp, the paint peeling everywhere. There were only 2 tiny bedrooms, 1 squat toilet bathroom, and a narrow kitchen that smelled of sewage. The ceiling fan screeched loudly as it spun. The air was hot and suffocating. Samantha stood in the doorway, refusing to go in. I'm not living here. This is disgusting. It stinks. We don't have any other choice, Samantha, Mr. Bernard Hale snapped. Exhaustion had turned into anger. It's either this or the street. Samantha finally entered, threw her suitcase aside, sat on the thin mattress laid directly on the floor, and began to cry. This wasn't the cry of sadness. It was rage, hatred. The first night was hell. The sounds of neighbors fighting, motorcycle engines roaring past, mosquitoes buzzing, and relentless heat. They slept poorly, twisting in sweat-soaked sheets. Reality hit on the second day. They had no food. Mr. Hale's remaining cash had gone to taxi fares and prepaid electricity credit. Dad, I'm hungry, Samantha whined. I don't have any money left. So what are we supposed to eat? Do something. Call your friends. Mr. Hale tried. He called every colleague who had slapped his back just a week earlier. No one answered. News of his collapse at the wedding had spread like a virus. He was a pariah. Samantha tried calling her socialite friends. Every call was cut off the moment they heard her voice. They were alone, and they were starving. There's only one way, Mr. Hale said quietly, looking at her. You need to work. Work? For Samantha, the word was foreign. Her job had always been to be beautiful and spend money. She held a communications degree from an expensive private university, but she had barely attended classes. Hunger, however, is a powerful motivator. She put on the last decent outfit she owned. She walked to the main road and boarded a public minibus. The experience made her nauseated. Her first stop was a luxury designer boutique in the mall where she used to shop.
She walked in expecting a managerial role based on taste alone. The boutique manager, a woman who used to assist her personally, looked her up and down. "Samantha Hale? I thought you were bankrupt." "I need a job," Samantha said, swallowing her pride. The manager laughed. "We don't need managers, but we do need a sales promotion girl. 8 hours standing, minimum wage, like a waitress." Humiliation burned her face. "Do you know who I am?" "I do," the manager replied coldly. "You're the spoiled girl who once threw a shoe at my assistant because the color was wrong. Get out." Samantha left, her face burning with shame. She applied at a hipster cafe as a cashier. She was hired for her looks. She lasted less than an hour. She entered wrong orders, complained about the air conditioning, and argued with customers about latte art. She was fired before lunch. The next day, she applied for an admin position using her diploma. "Can you use Excel?" the manager asked. "Of course," Samantha lied. The manager slid a laptop toward her. "Great, please create a pivot table from this sales data." Samantha stared blankly at the screen. She didn't even know how to create a new sheet. "Thank you for your time," the manager said coldly. Samantha walked home. Her feet were blistered from high heels. She was hungry, sweaty, and desperate. She passed a modest Indonesian restaurant. The smell of spiced beef stew drifted out, nearly making her faint. In the window, she saw a poster, "Dishwasher needed." She looked at her reflection in the greasy glass. Her dress was stained, her hair limp and oily. She remembered Laura at the wedding, quietly taking a piece of cake. Samantha cried. There, on the side of a crowded street, she finally broke. She realized something worse than poverty. Without her father's money, which had never been her father's after all, she was nothing. She had no skills, no value, nothing. While Samantha searched for work, Mr. Hale remained inside the stifling rental house. Too ashamed to go out, too broken to move. Stress, dehydration, and overwhelming guilt gnawed at his body. His chest tightened with every breath he took in the afternoon heat. His mind drifted, not to lost luxury, but to long before it. He remembered a night years ago, after his first furniture business collapsed. He had sat at the dining room table of their old cramped rental, a bottle of cheap liquor in front of him, sobbing uncontrollably. Samantha, then an early teenager, had opened her bedroom door, looked at him with disgust, and said, "You're pathetic," then slammed the door. He had felt shattered. He was ready to give up. Then the other bedroom door opened. Laura, 16 years old, thin, wearing thick glasses. She said nothing. She went to the kitchen, made him a glass of warm tea, and placed it in front of him. She sat across from him in silence. "Dad?" Laura said softly after a few minutes. "It's okay if you're bankrupt. That doesn't mean you failed." "You don't understand, Laura," he sobbed. "It's all gone." "We still have each other," she said. She slid a thin envelope across the table. "I won the state math Olympiad. This is the prize money. It's all my savings. It's not much, but it's everything I have. You can start again." Mr. Hale stared now at the peeling wall of the new rental. Tears streamed down his unshaven face. "Laura helped," he whispered. She had helped him far beyond anything he had ever imagined. And how did he repay her? He drove her away. He let her sister humiliate her. He chose fake gold for a real diamond. He sacrificed the daughter who gave him everything for the one who only knew how to take. The tightness in his chest worsened. This wasn't stress. It was heartbreak. With trembling hands, he rummaged through his old suitcase. He pulled out his old phone, the one he used before he was rich. He turned it on. The battery still worked. He scrolled through contacts, past false friends, until he found it. Laura, old number. The number she used for her simple life. His heart pounded as he pressed call. He would beg, kneel, do anything. 1 ring, 2 rings. Then a cold automated voice. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. He tried again. Same result. Desperate, he searched the internet for Laura Hale and Aegis Capital Group on the old phone. All he found was a sterile corporate website. No staff names, no public contact. A digital fortress. He was completely cut off. Mr. Hale dropped the phone. He clutched his chest. The pain was now physical. He coughed, struggling to breathe in the hot air. He was alone, bankrupt, sick, and he had lost the only thing that truly mattered. By his own hand. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks felt like 2 centuries in hell. The narrow rental became their prison. Their last cash went to rice and instant noodles. After being fired from the cafe and rejected everywhere else, Samantha gave up. She spent her days curled on the thin mattress, too ashamed to go out, too hungry to sleep. But Mr. Hale was worse. The chest tightness turned into a severe dry cough and unrelenting fever. He refused to eat, saving the noodles for Samantha. He shrank before her eyes. The once proud man became fragile and skeletal. Guilt poisoned his body, accelerating his collapse. That night, something changed. Mr. Hale began to deliriously mumble, "Laura, I'm sorry. Warm tea." His lips were cracked and dry. "Forgive me. I was wrong." Samantha shook him. "Dad! Dad, wake up!" His eyes opened but unfocused, glassy with fever. "I'm cold, Laura. Dad's cold." Even though the room was hot as an oven. For the first time, panic overcame Samantha's arrogance. This was no longer about luxury, no longer about shame. Her father was dying in front of her, in this filthy place, and only one name was on his lips: Laura. Samantha ran out of the rental house. She no longer cared about her appearance. Greasy hair, sweat-stained clothes, flip-flops. She had to find Laura. She had no phone, no money, only memory. She remembered the eviction notice, Aegis Capital Group. She remembered the glass towers in Manhattan's financial district. She remembered a friend once pointing at the tallest building. Crazy, right? That's Aegis Capital's headquarters. No one knows who owns it. Laura owned it. Samantha walked. She didn't know how far. She walked toward the glow of downtown lights. Hours passed. She was ignored by everyone. She looked like a homeless woman, and she nearly was. Night turned to dawn. Her feet blistered and bled. Finally, she arrived. The Aegis Tower. It rose before her like a mountain of glass and steel, cold, arrogant, unreachable. The lobby alone was larger than her entire neighborhood. She tried to enter. "Excuse me, ma'am." The tall, uniformed security guard stopped her at the revolving door. "Employees only." I need to see Laura Hale," Samantha said, her voice hoarse with
A small alarm sounded. 2 more security officers stepped out and grabbed her arms, preparing to drag her away. "Wait!" The voice came from the intercom at the reception desk. It was Brian. He'd been watching through the security cameras in his office. "Bring that woman to meeting room 10A. Give her water. Do not touch her." The security officers froze. A direct order from the CEO's chief of staff. They immediately released Samantha. "Come with us," one of them said, his tone now uncertain. Trembling with exhaustion, Samantha was escorted across the gleaming marble lobby, leaving faint trails of dirt on the perfectly polished floor. She was not taken to the meeting room. The instruction changed as she crossed the atrium. Laura was on her way to the morning board meeting. She stepped out of her private elevator, flanked by 4 top executives and 2 personal security guards. She wore a sharp ivory-white pantsuit. Her hair was flawless. Her presence radiated absolute authority. Brian intercepted her. "Miss Laura, apologies for the interruption. There's an incident in the lobby. It's your sister." Laura stopped. Her expression didn't change. "She's here?" Yes, she's shouting that Mr. Bernard Hale is dying. She doesn't look well. Laura stared straight ahead. The executives around her fell silent, sensing a sudden drop in temperature. "Proceed with the meeting without me," Laura said calmly. "Give me 5 minutes." The executives nodded and dispersed immediately. Laura, followed by Brian and her guards, walked toward the main lobby. And there stood Samantha. She was in the center of the vast lobby, flooded with morning sunlight pouring through the glass walls. She looked filthy, reeking, painfully thin. She looked like a ghost from Laura's past. A ghost from that wedding. When Samantha saw Laura, she froze. This was not the simple Laura she had always mocked, not the awkward woman she had driven away. The woman before her was a queen in her own kingdom, powerful, calm, completely unfamiliar. The distance between them was no longer social, it was evolutionary. All the hatred and arrogance left in Samantha shattered instantly, replaced by a crushing truth. She had insulted a goddess, and only realized it now. "Sis," Samantha whispered. Laura only looked at her, the same look she had given her at the wedding, cold, clear, judging. She didn't move. She waited. Samantha couldn't endure it any longer. Guilt, fear of her father's death, and unbearable shame collapsed her from within. She ran forward. Laura's guards stepped in, but Laura raised her hand, stopping them. Samantha didn't dare touch her. She stopped a few feet away and did the only thing she had left. She fell to her knees, then she bowed fully, her forehead touching the cold marble floor at Laura's feet. Employees and executives passing through the busy lobby slowed, staring at the surreal scene. "Sis, I'm sorry," Samantha sobbed, her voice muffled against the floor. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was cruel. I deserve this. I deserve it." Then, "But Dad," she lifted her face, now soaked with tears and grime. "Dad is very sick, sis. He's dying. He keeps calling your name. He's sorry." Samantha crawled forward, clutching the tip of Laura's expensive high heel. "I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for a house. Please, save Dad. Don't let him die in that place. Please. After that, you can kill me if you want. I don't care. Just save him." The lobby fell completely silent. Laura looked down at the sister who had been reduced to dust at her feet. She remembered Samantha screaming at the wedding, "Don't touch the food." She remembered the arrogance, and now she saw this. She felt no victory, no satisfaction, only emptiness. "Brian," Laura said flatly, "prepare the car. We're going there." The drive to the narrow alley rental was the most awkward journey imaginable. Laura sat in the soundproof back seat of her Mercedes Maybach, beside Samantha. Samantha, ashamed of her own smell, curled herself as far away possible against the door. They didn't speak. Brian sat in the front passenger seat beside the driver. The car stopped at the entrance of the alley. It was too large to enter. "In there," Samantha whispered. Laura stepped out. Humid morning air mixed with the stench of sewage assaulted her senses. She didn't flinch. She followed Samantha jogging into the muddy alley. Locals eating breakfast at small food stalls stared at the strange procession. A woman who looked homeless, followed by a woman who looked like an angel, and a man in a suit trailing them like a shadow. Samantha pushed open a rotting wooden door. The smell inside was worse. Sweat, illness, despair. And there he was. On a thin mattress on the concrete floor lay what remained of Mr. Bernard Hale. Skin stretched over bone, sunken eyes, shallow, rattling breaths. He wore a dirty, torn shirt. Laura stopped at the doorway. This was the man who had driven her away, the man who chose empty pride over his own daughter. Samantha rushed to her father's side. "Dad, Dad, look, Laura's here. Sis Laura came." Mr. Hale didn't respond.
His eyes were closed. Laura stepped inside. She knelt beside the mattress. She studied her father's face, the face whose approval she had once desperately sought. She extended her manicured hand and gently brushed the damp hair from his burning forehead. The touch, no matter how soft, awakened him. Mr. Hale's eyes slowly opened. His vision was blurred. He saw a vague figure. "Samantha," he whispered. "Dad's dreaming. Dad's dreaming Laura's here." "Not a dream, Dad." Laura's voice was calm. His eyes widened. It took several seconds for his fogged mind to focus. Then he saw her, his daughter, the daughter he had cast away. She didn't look angry, only tired. "Laura," his voice broke. "I thought you were dead. I thought you were an angel. Laura, my child." His reaction was unexpected. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for help. Using the last of his strength, he tried to rise, sliding his fragile body from the mattress to the filthy floor. He tried to bow before her, just as Samantha had. "Father, Father is sinful." His body trembled violently as he sobbed. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was blind." He couldn't continue. A violent coughing fit overtook him, his hands clutching his chest. "Dad!" Samantha screamed. Laura didn't panic. She turned immediately. "Brian, call an ambulance. The nearest private hospital. I'll handle the administration." "Yes, Miss Laura." Brian had already dialed before she finished speaking. Laura looked back at her father, now coughing weakly on the floor. She helped Samantha lift him back onto the mattress. For the first time in 2 weeks, Laura felt something other than cold anger. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. It was compassion. The ambulance arrived quickly. Mr. Hale was rushed to the ER and received immediate treatment. Severe pneumonia, complicated by extreme malnutrition and cardiac stress. He had nearly died. Laura paid a 5-figure dollar deposit without blinking, using a black card her family had never even seen. She and Samantha sat in the sterile, icy hospital corridor, a far cry from the Borum Grand Hotel. Samantha sat hunched on a waiting chair, still filthy, staring blankly at the ER doors. Laura stood by the window, her back to her. He'll survive, right, sis?" Samantha asked softly. "The doctors are treating him. He'll receive the best care," Laura replied flatly. Silence again. "Sis," Samantha began, her voice trembling. "I know, sorry isn't enough. I know I'm disgusting. I'll do anything to repay this. I'll be your servant for life. "Enough," Laura said. She turned. She truly looked at her sister. "You want to repay your debt? You have nothing to repay me with. You have no money, no skills. You don't even have dignity." Each word was a slap. Samantha lowered her head, accepting all of it. "I will forgive you," Laura said quietly. Samantha looked up, hope flooding her eyes. "But," Laura continued, "I will never forget, and nothing will ever return to how it was." "I understand," Samantha whispered. "I'll make sure Father is treated until he recovers," Laura continued, switching fully into CEO mode. "Once stable, I'll move him to a long-term care facility. Clean, decent, not luxurious, but safe." "Thank you, sis. Thank you," Samantha sobbed. "I'm not finished." Laura locked eyes with her. "Luxury is dead. I won't give you $1. I won't give you an apartment. I won't give you an easy job." "Then what should I do?" "You said you'd do anything," Laura said. "Now prove